We are pleased to bring in right now Professor Emeritus at Harvard Law School and the author of many books, including Get Trump, Alan Dershowitz. Professor Dershowitz, great to have you in with us today here on Newsline, sir.
Thank you.
So a lot of developments here. The most recent one is the fingerprints, which is the first match. Obviously, that will be problematic for his defense attorney as someone who has represented many people in a defense capacity yourself. What do you think of some of the comments yesterday coming from Thomas Dickey, the attorney, saying there's no evidence linking his client to the killing? Now that somewhat changes.
This is absurd. He's going to, if he defends the case in court, the first thing he will say is, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we admit that our client actually committed the crime, killed the person. Now, maybe he was insane, but if he tries to deny the facts of the case, he will lose all credibility, which he's already done in the public. You can't just defy reality. Fingerprints, DNA, confession. This is the most open and shut factual case I've ever seen, much more than cases where there have been convictions. A jury will convict within 10 minutes here, unless there is a defense that goes beyond, did he do it or didn't do it? He was mentally ill, he was taking drugs. Maybe the lawyer will suggest some kind of justification, but factually, there's just no doubt that he's guilty. Nothing is doubtful at all.
Right. I want to play his comments because he was pretty serious about the way he was going to represent him yesterday before this recent development. I'll play this, and then I want to talk about some disturbing posters in New York.
I haven't seen any evidence that says that he's the shooter. So that's, like I said earlier, and I wasn't kidding around. A couple of things. If you're going to report something, report accurately. And remember, and this is not just a small thing, the fundamental concept of American justice is the presumption of innocence, and until you're proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And I've seen zero evidence at this point.
Professor Dershowitz, so things may change. You may tailor his comments today. I know you're shaking your head. We're also shaking our head about the fascination with this assassin, alleged assassin. There are these posters now showing up in New York. We have one from Canal Street where it is wanted CEOs of healthcare companies. There's been sort of this very macabre sidebar here. If we can put one of these up, and it shows Thompson with an X mark in one of his, and then others. You know, that somehow is just so dark. What do you take of that and where Americans are when it comes to the healthcare system, that they would actually think this is a crime that is okay in their minds?
Look, this started 14 months ago when college students, people with PhDs, professors were saying, there's no evidence that Hamas ever killed anybody or raped anybody. And if they did, they were right in doing it. So many young people supported Hamas in their killing of 1,200 and kidnapping 250 Israelis. People will believe anything if it's ideological. And so, yeah, you'll get people on the street saying this guy's a hero. You'll get lawyers saying he didn't do it. But when you get 12 jurors and you hear the evidence, you see the fingerprints, and you read the confession, everybody's going to say within minutes, of course he did it. Maybe there are other reasons for finding mitigation or an insanity defense or anything else. But any lawyer who, in the face of this evidence, tries to get up in front of a jury and say there's no evidence that he did it is not going to have any credibility. So the first thing, if you're a lawyer, is you must admit that which is indisputable. And then you dispute that which is disputable. Way to win cases.
Do you think Alvin Bragg should be the one to prosecute this case? Some are concerned how he would prosecute. And apparently there's a way for a travel act and organized crime prosecutions to pull it from Bragg. Would you suggest that they try to do that?
Alvin Bragg should never prosecute a single case in New York again. He's lost all of his credibility by going after Penny and by going after Trump on a made-up charge. This is a real case, but Bragg doesn't have the capacity to bring a real case because he doesn't have any credibility. If I'm the defense attorney here, I would pray for Bragg to bring this case and then try to put Bragg on trial and the New York District Attorney's Office on trial. The public would be far better served if a credible district attorney brought this case.
We will watch that closely. There's also reports that some people have called Thomas Dickey's office, Luigi Mangione's attorney, to offer to help pay for his trial. Speaking of Daniel Penny, sir, I'd like to get your reaction to word that he may actually sue now for malicious prosecution, that there is potentially, this grounds that his civil rights were violated, that this was brought potentially by race because he's white, and we know during the trial, a lot of times, mostly, he was referred to as the white man. Would this be successful? And also understanding he has a civil case to contend with, would you recommend that? What would you recommend for Daniel Penny?
Well, I would recommend taking aggressive action. First of all, he should sue Hawk Newsome, the man who walked up to him in the courtroom and said, "It's a small world, buddy," and then went outside and called for vigilantes and saying, "If you strangle us, we'll strangle you." Those are those are threats that are not likely to be protected, particularly the first one, when you walk right up to somebody and say it's a small world. That may not be protected by the First Amendment. That may go beyond protected excitement. And I do think that nobody should have brought this case. And, prosecutors themselves have immunity. They made up immunity. It's not in the Constitution. Same prosecutors who complain about President Trump having immunity have it themselves. So judges. But it doesn't mean you can bring cases. The office can still be sued.
Sure.
Remember, they decided not to bring this case. He wasn't arrested. He wasn't initially prosecuted. And then you had Black Lives Matter protesters led by people, Newsome, and then they decided to change their mind. That was a complete capitulation to public actions.
In our final seconds, I just want to make sure we talk about Floyd Mayweather, the legend, attacked for supporting Jewish people on the streets of London. Very disturbing. You just made some excellent points about just how upside down the culture is, the indoctrination of students that don't even understand what they're doing. What do you think of what happened there on the streets? He did continue on and say, "I'm proud to support the Jews." And now we have a situation where Syria, the regime is toppled. A lot of uncertainty in the Middle East, Professor Dershowitz.
Of Mayweather. He's done the right thing, and these kinds of racist attacks on an African-American man who stands up for other minorities should be condemned by everybody. There was a time when blacks, many blacks, including Martin Luther King, supported Israel, and now you have a lot of people, black, white, Arab, hating Israel on purely anti-Semitic racist grounds. And so that has to be attacked in the court of public opinion. And thank you, Mayweather, for standing up for justice and the right thing.
I thank you for joining us today, Professor Dershowitz. Always great to have you, and really fascinating insight on the potential defense for the CEO, alleged assassin. Good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.